Young Turks Elections 2014.
Hello and welcome to the Young Turks Election Special. I'm Shireen Bhan. Today on the show, we put the spotlight on a former investment banker turned politician, Satish Jain of the Aam Aadmi Party, who is contesting from North Mumbai, and cricketer Mohammad Kaif, who's starting a new innings on a Congress ticket from the Phulpur constituency in Allahabad. First up, Satish Jain. He's a postgraduate from the Indian Institute of Management in Bangalore. Satish has spent almost 2 decades championing the cause of free markets and capitalism. After a long stint at Morgan Stanley and HDFC Mutual Fund, Jain decided to give up the boardroom for the rough and tumble of politics. Impressed and inspired by Arvind Kejriwal's vision, he joined the Aam Aadmi Party and has vowed to apply management principles to politics. Take a look. Mumbai North is one of the most prestigious constituencies, once represented by V.K. Krishna Menon and Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar. AAP debutant Satish Jain blames mismanagement and lack of proper representation for the chaos that marks this constituency today. Inspired by Arvind Kejriwal and the India Against Corruption movement, Satish quit his lucrative corporate career to join politics. Having worked extensively on the economic agenda of the Aam Aadmi Party, Satish is trying hard to correct the perception of Aam Aadmi Party being anti-business and anti-capitalism. Well, Satish Jain, thanks very much for joining us on Young Turks. Let me start by asking you about your decision to get into politics. Now, so far, we've seen people from the world of business shy away from contesting elections. The few that have made it to Parliament have come in through the comfortable Rajya Sabha route, if I may say so. So why did you take the decision to contest the polls and specifically join the Aam Aadmi Party?
Aam Aadmi Party came as a breath of fresh air. There was an opportunity to give good governance, transparency, integrity, power to the people. And that's what got me into the Aam Aadmi Party. So essentially I came in earlier as their advisor for their manifesto and the economic policy. And then when I got deeply involved with them, I thought that there is an opportunity to reach the people and contribute to them, because I have been doing some social work in a small way. But I think this was a great platform to contribute in a more meaningful way.
In the past, people with the right credentials, people like you, have failed to make an impact. Take your own Aam Aadmi Party colleague Meera Sanyal as an example. She fought as an independent, lost. The reality is that caste, ethnicity, connections do matter, and that is perhaps why political parties go with safer choices, as those candidates have a higher chance of winning an election. So is there really space for people like you in politics today?
I think the winnability as a party will be strong. When you stand as an independent, even if you have got great credentials, people generally don't vote for you because people want to vote for a party. Now, once you're entering into a party like Aam Aadmi Party, it comes off as a very, very strong and credible force.
You know, Satish, I want you to be candid and honest with me. You come from a financial services background. You've spent time in the heart of capitalist Mumbai. Every time a political party talks about subsidies or closing the door on foreign direct investment or going back to a control and command system, investors get worried. I know Arvind Kejriwal has said that Aam Aadmi Party's economic ideology has been misunderstood, but has it been hard for you personally to reconcile your free market, free economy principles with the principles that the Aam Aadmi Party is pushing today?
There is a big misconception in the financial services industry that Aam Aadmi Party stands for subsidies, they are against foreign direct investment, they are not for growth, they are only for populism. I think these are big misconceptions. I have been involved with the party's manifesto and economic policy for a while now. What I can say is that we believe in growth without compromising on the environment, growth without subsidies. Subsidies need to be given in some sectors like education or healthcare or infrastructure, which is a norm everywhere in the world. It should not be treated as an P&L item, it should be treated as a balance sheet item, it should be a part of your social balance sheet. If you have got a country which is young, which is healthy, which is well educated, long term it could be a big growth driver. So I think that's where we think some subsidies could be necessary. In Delhi, we had given some subsidies on electricity and water, but I think they were related mainly because there has been a huge element of corruption both in all these sectors. And our target is actually to get rid of this corruption.
But
if corruption comes to an end...
Let me interrupt you, Satish, because that is where the concern lies, that instead of actually addressing realistically the issue of corruption, instead of waiting for the CAG audit, which your government, when it was in power in Delhi, ordered, you decided to go ahead and announce subsidies. You waived bills of defaulters. Why the knee-jerk reaction? Why this populist approach on such crucial issues of user charges? You did what every other political party does.
We very clearly stated that these subsidies will be only for a quarter. Once the audit is done, we'll be doing away with these subsidies. And there is, even in Maharashtra, for example, we exposed this 22,000 crore electricity scam. And we think that the real cost of providing electricity to the consumer is probably 4 rupees a unit. And electricity in Maharashtra is the most expensive in the country at around 6.25 rupees a unit. And it is rising every year, which puts a big drain on the economy of the state.
You know, but Satish, let's set aside the issue of corruption and let me ask you this. Do you stand for, does the Aam Aadmi Party stand for market-determined prices as far as fuel are concerned, petrol, diesel, gas? Do you stand for market-determined prices or not? Forget the issue of corruption for a moment.
Absolutely. In fact, we think that everything has to be market determined, and if there is some subsidy to be given, so for example, if you need to give subsidy to the poor for food, it has to be clearly well defined. The mechanism of providing that subsidy has to be clear. In fact, we've made a shadow budget, and according to that, we can bring down the fiscal deficit as a percentage of GDP to less than 2% over the next 3 to 4 years. So I think that's the kind of, that's the extent of gains that we can have because of clear administrative policies. Even on foreign direct investment, because for FDI in retail became the poster boy of reforms. What we really said is that you need to look at things in a holistic way. Wherever investments are needed, we will look at that in totality. So FDI in retail, we are not really against that completely. We are saying that we will look at it at a state level. If, for example, there are certain sections of the society that could benefit because of that. Farmers could benefit, consumers can benefit. But we need to look at it in greater detail. So in Delhi specifically, FDI in retail was because the trader community was suffering and employment was suffering, and that is the reason we went against it. Maharashtra, we probably will look at it differently.
Satish, I want to pick holes in that argument as far as retail FDI is concerned, because some would say again that what you did on retail FDI in Delhi is typical of political opportunism. You were in power for 49 days in Delhi. The FDI notification on multi-brand retail had only just been announced. What evidence did you have that gave you conclusive indications that traders in Delhi were already suffering on account of foreign direct investment in multi-brand retail before you decided to take a U-turn?
Because it was not a U-turn, it was our election promise. In fact, we had engaged with the trading community very, very strongly for almost...
No, you know, I want to interrupt you again, Satish, because, you know, this was the stated policy of a state government, and yet within 49 days, you say that you got enough evidence for you to decide that this was the wrong thing and to do a U-turn.
Because, see, the policy was made without consulting the people. Now, let me tell you one thing very clearly. Aam Aadmi Party believes in participative democracy. You have to engage with the people. We engaged with all the traders for almost 3 to 4 months before the elections. And the unanimous feedback from all of them was that they were against it because they were losing their jobs and probably in the long term they would have suffered. And it is not necessary that the small traders are not efficient, that they can be less competitive than the foreign retailers.
Okay, you know, let me move away from retail FDI. Satish, you talk about how you've made a shadow budget where fiscal deficit has been actually controlled to under 2% of GDP over the next 2 to 3 years. The Congress party says if it comes back to power, it will attempt to bring the fiscal deficit down to about 3% of GDP by FY17. Give me a sense of the kind of ideas that you hope to implement as far as revenue mobilization is concerned.
We think that there is so much leakage in both the revenues at the state and the central level. So if that is addressed, you've got a huge parallel economy. If that is integrated into the mainstream economy, actually the size of your GDP itself will increase. Even if tax as a percentage of GDP does not, the tax rate does not go up, the tax collections can improve quite significantly. So the revenue side is taken care of. On the expenditure side, there are so many leakages, and we think that if you can control those leakages, your expenditure can be controlled. Even if you probably give more efficient subsidies, even then your expenditure can be controlled. So because of these two factors, we think that the fiscal deficit can actually come down. So it is not just a statement. It is well thought out mathematics.
All right, Satish, the Congress clearly has a more left-of-center approach as far as economic policy is concerned, rights-based approach, more economics of entitlement. It wants to reach out to the Aam Aadmi, so to speak. The BJP clearly is a right-of-center, more free market economy kind of party, at least as far as economic ideology goes. Where does the Aam Aadmi Party stand? Do you find yourself aligning more towards the Congress vision and ideology, or more towards the Gujarat model of development and Modinomics?
I think all these models have failed miserably because the gap between the have and have-nots has only widened in this country. We need a more sensible approach towards economics. So I think both the Modi model in Gujarat, which has only benefited a few large capitalists, I think that is a wrong approach. Even the Congress model of just appeasing the voter base, I think that is a failed model. What we need to do is have a very transparent and sensible approach and be very clear about your policies to the electorate.
I know you're making your political debut, Satish, and we hope that all goes well for you. But if this election doesn't go the way that you have planned it to, what is the plan going to be? What is plan B for you? Do you continue in politics, or do you go back to the world of business and finance?
I think my confidence in winning the seat is very high. I think we've engaged with the electorate and the response has been very positive. We've not come to for power. We've come to change the politics in this country. If there is clean politics in the country, Aam Aadmi Party can pack its bag and go home. So I think that's the most important thing. Every MP of the Aam Aadmi Party will be equivalent to 10 MPs of the other parties. So if we are in the opposition, so be it. We will not let any wrong bill get passed, or if there is any wrongdoing, we'll ensure that the corrupt are punished and they will not go scot-free. We've got the assembly elections in the next 6 months, so that will be my responsibility. I will be canvassing very actively for the 6 Vidhan Sabha constituents. After that, we'll have the corporation elections. So it's a long haul. I think we have to make a difference to society. It cannot happen in 3 and 6 months.
Well, on that note, then, my final question to you, Satish. You said you would like to apply the principles of management in politics. What are those principles, or the top principles of management, that you hope to apply to the world of politics?
So top principles is leave the decision making to experts. So if you have to do infrastructure, leave the decision making to the experts. So we will engage with a lot of experts across sectors, whether it is FDI or whether it is infrastructure or whether it is agriculture. We've got an excellent bureaucracy in place. So we will be ensuring that the administration is done by them, and we will get advice from the experts. I think that is the single most important thing that I will probably bring to the table.
Well, Satish Jain, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Here's wishing you the very best of luck as you make your political debut and fight for the Lok Sabha seat from North Mumbai. Thanks very much for speaking to us here on Young Turks. On that note, it is time for us to take a break, but when we return, catch cricketer Mohammad Kaif on a new wicket in a battle to regain the Congress's lost glory in the Phulpur constituency in Allahabad.
Young Turks Elections 2014.